What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hawks Nest, episode 3, where we'll be covering Iowa's Week 1 matchup versus the Utah State Aggies. The game is Saturday at Kinnick Stadium at 12 p.m. Eastern. Iowa is a 25-point favorite, and the over-under for the game is 43.5 points. So let's cover some of the biggest questions for Iowa heading into the game. Number 1, will Iowa have the same flat offense as last year? Last year, they ranked 127th overall in both passing and rushing yards per game. Number 2, will the addition of Rusty Feth and Dejon Parker help the offensive line that struggled pretty bad last year? They gave up an average of 3 sacks per game, which ranked 103rd in the country. And number 3, who will step up at wide receiver outside Ragaini? Brody Beck left the program to pursue baseball. Deontay Vines missed much of last year with an injury, and when he did come back, his playing time was pretty limited. Or will it be Charleston Southern transfer Seth Anderson, who's more known as a slot speedster? So heading into the game, some matchups to watch. It'll be Iowa's secondary versus Utah State wide receivers. Utah State has Trell Vaughn return. He was an honorable mention All Mountain West last year. He had 56 receptions, 624 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And on the other side of him will be Colorado transfer Grant Page, who is a big-bodied wide receiver. He's 6'3", 205, and is known to be pretty physical. But with that being said, they will have to throw to Cooper DeJean because he'll be covering one of them. So there's a chance, unlike years in the past with stud Iowa corners not getting thrown to, Cooper will be thrown at this year. Number 2, it'll be Iowa's rushing game versus Utah State's defense. Both of these categories were pretty bad last year. Iowa averaged only 2.9 yards per carry last year, and Utah State's defense gave up 5 yards per carry, second worst in the Mountain West, and I think about 115th in the nation last year. I'm leaning more towards Iowa in this department because Utah State had 4 starters transfer out. They lost edges Daniel Griziak, Byron Vaughns, Patrick Joyner, and AJ Vong. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name because I'll screw it up. They all transferred to bigger programs, and with defense giving up 5 yards per carry, all these guys have to be backfilled by younger players with less experience. So I'm expecting that number to be a little higher on Saturday. So some Utah State players to look out for other than named. Robert Bridges, their starting running back. He averaged 4.8 yards per carry as a backup last year. Finished last year with 553 yards and a touchdown. He was named third team All Mountain West this preseason by the AP. And I highlighted him just because of the spots that'll have to be filled in on the defensive line due to the gambling incidents at Iowa. I mean, you lose Noah Shannon. You've lost some big name players last year. So just that inexperience, he may average close to that against the Hawkeyes. Another name is Ike Larson. He plays safety for them. He is arguably the best player on the roster. He was honorable mention all freshman last year. He led the Aggies with 4 interceptions, including 1 for a touchdown. He set the single season record for the Aggies with 3 blocked punts. And with Iowa's inexperience at wide receiver and Cade trying to make a play with him, he could be in a position to make plays. And the third player, my favorite, is Hale Matuapuaka, a defensive tackle. He finished last year with 8 TFLs and 5 sacks. He was named to the second team All Mountain West by the AP. And with Iowa's shaky offensive line and him being a big boy, he could easily disrupt a lot of the inside run plays, which as Iowa is known for, that's pretty much their offense. And a fun fact about him is he's a 3-time world champion in fire knife. And if you're not sure what that is the Polynesian art of where they light the batons on fire on each side and perform a dance with them. Um, and I think if Iowa can have somewhat of a productive offense compared to last year, I don't believe this game will be close. They've played twice in the past with Iowa blowing them out pretty handedly. I believe the last one being in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, and with that being said, my prediction for the game will be Iowa 31, Utah State 10. Those 10s coming off of garbage time points. Um, and that is it for this episode of the Hawks Nest. If you enjoyed this, make sure you follow the CFB Nation on YouTube, on Twitter. You can find us at the CFB Nation on Twitter, and you can follow me for more takes like this at DNOW_T2T. I appreciate you all watching, and I look forward to a great season. And as always, go Hawks.